So as we know, there was a huge evidence drop in the Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt case. So I was looking through all of the evidence pictures and I came across this picture and thought, that looks like the pen papers that Kevin Franke talks about in his second interview. Now, they also released a ton of body cam videos where they're going through Jodi Hildebrandt's house. So I went through all of these videos trying to locate these pen papers and I found them. Why are the pen papers important? Because in Kevin Franke's second interview, he tells the story about how Ruby, Pam, and Jodi would have what they called interventions where they would go into trances and supposedly have visions from God, and that everything that happened in those trances was documented in these pen papers, which were not to be revealed to the public until they were made scripture. But Kevin also mentions how these pen papers would tie Pam into everything. These pen papers are the very first thing that Kevin mentions in his second interview with law enforcement.
How she came into your lives, and then where things started to change.
Jodi, you mean?
Jodi.
Jodi. I thought you said Julie, but...
Oh,
Jodi.
Jodi. Yeah, Jodi. Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. And I'll ask first, have you found the pen papers?
The pen papers. So we found quite a bit of different journals.
We believe they're on the computer, and the rest of them are sealed, like they're trying to mail them off. But we do not have a direct copy of it, no.
Because my understanding was we had purchased as a Christmas present for Jodi in 2021 a leather folder that 3 inches thick or whatever, that it had engraved on the leather on the outside the pen papers, and Ruby wrote detailed notes of everything, all interactions with Jodi and Pam Bodtcher from August 2021 until I don't know when.
And you're saying, is it like a satchel looking leather bit, or is it more like a binder?
No, it's like I don't even know what to call it. But
it's flat.
So you see,
shorter, because we do have Ruby's journal, which is from those dates that you mentioned.
These things are going to be so. She wouldn't write the stuff she wrote in the pen papers. She would not write in her journal. The stuff she wrote in the pen papers was not intended to be read by anybody until God would decree them to be written as scripture for the whole world to read.
Okay.
I believe that's what we have.
Okay.
Because you're saying the pen would be different, correct? It's like a...
Well, it was just in a thing called the pen papers. So it was, and that's how Ruby referred to those papers. Yeah. So it described all of the visions and trances and everything that Jodi and Ruby went into.
How thick would you say it was?
It was like 3 inches thick or so. And there were hundreds of pages of written documents that Ruby had. And that was given to Jodi in 2022 when she left and returned to her home in January. So
this is similar.
Yeah, like it would look like that.
Okay.
That's not the journal that we have, so...
No, I think you're talking... It looks like a satchel.
It's something Jodi would not want found.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't want to destroy it.
Because we didn't find that in the home.
We found an empty one.
We did find an empty one.
I remember saying anything on it, though. There's an empty thing like that.
Yeah.
There's a full thing, but it was...
If the empty one says the pen papers on the outside of it, then they emptied it and did something.
We'll go back through our photos and see if that's...
Yeah.
Because everything in the home was photographed. So.
If you're interested in Pam Bodtcher, that's going to tie Pam Bodtcher to all of this. What's in those documents.
Okay, so now let's get into the body cam footage. Now, the body cam footage is muted, so there's no sound, but I wanted to show you from here so you can see which bedroom these were found in. So the female detective or officer walks into this bedroom, and then there's a bathroom off this bedroom. Now, they do also find a journal in this room that is inside this nightstand, but this is not where the pen papers were found. So she stands here and goes through this journal for a minute, so we're going to speed through that. Then she's going to walk into the bathroom, and then off of this bathroom, there is a huge walk-in closet. So where this male officer is squatting down and pulling out this blue folder, he's next going to pull out the pen papers, which is in this leather satchel exactly as Kevin Franke described it. Now, if we slow this down and blow it up, you can see on the front there it says the pen papers. Now, right on top of it was a blue folder, and when he opens it, you will see there's more blue folders, some other papers and things. So unfortunately, he doesn't really pull anything out of it, and the picture that they shared in the evidence photos is blurred out. Now, there are other clips from the body cam footage where they are looking at papers in that same bedroom and in this same bathroom off of this closet. So I did my best to go through and zoom in on all the papers and just see if I could see what they said. So they don't really seem like anything that would be in the pen papers. So this one is around the 1626 mark. And at the very bottom, this says, Bishop, what is my responsibility? Something Bishop ? And then it looks like glory, and then up above it says like ground effort, social media, speaking engagements. So I don't know if these papers were something that was in the pen papers little binder or satchel or whatever, but as she's flipping through these, you can kind of see some of the words that are written on the papers. So maybe if someone who's a little better at editing wants to go through and see what those say, this is where the timestamp is. But law enforcement did find the binder that was labeled pen papers. And when they're discussing this in Kevin's interview, law enforcement states that they don't have a direct copy of it. So it's possible that whatever papers were in here were not the papers documenting Ruby, Pam, and Jodi's trances. And they did mention in Kevin's interview that they were mailing some of these off, or they could be on a computer, but I know there was lots of speculation that maybe Pam Bodtcher had these papers, but I just found it interesting since Kevin mentioned that these would tie Pam into everything. We know that Pam was the president of Connexions and that Ruby's two older daughters were with Pam on the day that R escaped. We also know from Ruby's journals that Pam was with Ruby on August 27th, just 3 days before R's escape. She talks about how A visited for a week last week. She picked her up and took her home to Springville on Friday. And then she writes, Pam and I packed 20 boxes and took them to a storage shed in Springville. A gave her 2 weeks notice. So I'm not sure if this took place at Jodi's home or at Ruby's home. We know that Jodi and Ruby were planning on a move and that lots of stuff had been packed up and moved out of Jodi's into storage. So it's possible that Pam was at Jodi's home just 3 days before R's escape. So did Pam Bodtcher see the children and know what condition they were in? I'm not sure that we will ever know, but there is a very likely chance that Ruby and Jodi kept them hidden when other people were at the house. Either way, it is very interesting how concerned Kevin Franke was about these pen papers. In fact, he even brings it up again at the end of his second interview.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, I'm just really interested in the pen papers. Like, for my own curiosity, I want to know what was going on in all of those little interventions. And
I'll look back through the photos because, like I said, we documented everything in the home, whether we took it or if we didn't. And then I'll reach out to Mr. Kester and let you know.
And let's not forget when Kevin Franke wanted to press burglary charges against his own daughter, Shari, when after the children were discovered, Shari Franke went back to the Franke house in Springville to get some items for her other siblings and ended up taking some electronic journals and other items that Kevin was very upset about. In fact, he was so upset that he threatened to sue the police department.
Hey there, Brian Schnee, KUTV2 News in Salt Lake City. An update on the 8 passengers allegations. I have some new reports I obtained from the Springville Police Department pertaining to Ruby Franke. The day after her arrest, we know that her oldest daughter and a DCFS caseworker along with other family members went in the home to gather personal items for 4 children, 2 in state custody in southern Utah and 2 in the custody and care of the oldest daughter in northern Utah. The following day, Kevin Franke called Springville Police, that is Ruby's husband, to report a burglary at that home. He said the front door had been kicked in and electronic items had been taken. The department said, no, the front door wasn't a burglarized incident. That was us serving your search warrant 2 days prior. It turns out the oldest daughter did have the electronic devices. She brought them to the police department and they were returned to Kevin. Kevin said that he wanted to file charges against his oldest daughter. The police department said, we're not doing that. Kevin then told them, according to this report, they would be hearing from his attorney.
So now, was that because Kevin was also searching for these pen papers? Or was it because there was also some questionable things in Kevin's journals? That's all I have for now. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments. And if you saw something that I missed, let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And I'll catch you on the next one.